last year in India, Jean-Claude and I sat up here and discussed where the industry was, where it might be going. And some remarkable things have happened in the last 12 months. Look at the title of your summit here today, Fast Forward. It's remarkable how fast it has moved forward. And the seminar numbers are so much different than they were last year. Now, some things haven't changed. One of the things that haven't changed is the actual numbers of the travel industry itself. Am I hearing an echo here? Okay, I'll speak more slowly. One of the things that has not changed is the actual impact, the importance of the travel and tourism industry. It's still 1 of every 10 jobs. It is still nearly 10% of global GDP. That in itself is staggering. And beyond that, when you think about how many countries are even represented here today in this room, that is some indication of the importance and the resilience of the industry. But I'm going to ask Jean-Claude to give me first a little update on some of the specific numbers as it applies to spa and wellness.
The thing with Peter, he always takes my figures and then he asks me to give figures, you know.
Go ahead.
In a nutshell, travel and tourism has been growing and is still growing, despite all what has happened in the world and unfortunately going to happen in the world. 1 out of 11 jobs. 11% of the world GDP, 5% of the investments. So the thing is growing, and it's still growing. And it has been growing this year. Air travel has been growing. Arrivals have been growing. We are crossing our fingers. It's still pushing. Now, in order to surprise you, Peter, I made a little bit of a calculation. By the way, thank you very much, all of you. The SRI figures are great. And you have here the fundamentals to really push your point across. And Magat, I was very impressed, by the way, by what you said. I lived in Africa, and I have a little bit of a sense about what you wanted to express. Thank you. Now, coming back, I made a little calculation with the SRI, and spa represents 2.1% of the economic impact of travel and tourism in the world. Now, 2.1% is not much. But if you look at the growth, it has been growing at a double pace, fast forward. And you are really in a fast forward type of economy. You represent I did it very precisely, I don't know why, but listen to that, 2.139, million jobs in the world. And that is growing fast. That's what I wanted to say.
Good, okay. I'm happy to hear that.
I give you the figures. So
you will, I know you will. Forgetting just the figures, it really gets down to a definition of terms. And let me give you my own perspective about what happens in terms of the world of media. Because in the world of media, there are 3 areas that are really phenomenal when it comes to engaging the audience. In fact, you can't lose, because you're dealing with their own self-interest. That's health, finance, and travel. It transcends all the demographics, has nothing to do with educational levels, income, geographic location, gender. When you mention health, travel, and finance, you've got people's attention. What is spa and wellness in terms of the way that we travel in the world, other than those 3 things? So that may, that may have some impact on why these numbers are growing as much as they are. But then it still gets down to a definition of terms about spa and wellness and what that really means. And last year we were trying to come up with a new definition of terms. I think we're still wrestling with that. In my experience, there was the traditional definition of spa, which was you went to a place in Switzerland for the treatments, or to Germany. And then that evolved into something else in which every hotel and resort felt they had to have a spa for marketing reasons. And in fact, it got to the point where if you looked at some brochures, it would be like Joe's Bowling Alley and Spa. Anybody here from a bowling alley and spa? Come on, we know you're there.
Not up today, you know.
No, not
now
today.
I know.
And then, of course, it's gone beyond that. The next level, of course, was something that we reported on at CBS a number of times, even last year, the explosion in what we would call, traditionally defined, of course, medical tourism. And the traditional definition of medical tourism, going back to maybe the 50s and 60s, was elective surgery, for breast implants and tummy tucks. Well, that's gone basically by the sidelines. And then it's actually because of a growing number of uninsured or underinsured people who had no choice but to seek medical tourism outside their own geographic boundaries. Now it's gone way beyond that, and that's the word wellness. And that is going from a medical need or in a medical emergency to a desire for maintenance and wellness that transcends everything. And it becomes almost an imperative.
Yeah, well, we have been talking for hours. What is the definition of wellness, well-being, and so on? What shall we do? What shall we put in that institute? I think that's irrelevant. We have that energy you just described, all those different sectors, all those different needs, all those different people who can bring their culture, who can bring something to the world. And let's do it. And we cross the bridges when we get there. I always have done that in my life. And sometimes it was successful, sometimes no. But this time, I'm convinced that wellness, you talk to corporate leaders, they would be so happy to have their employees, their staff, their teams, creating new energy because they are feeling better. I talk to ministers of not tourism, but health, finance. They are afraid about the rising cost of health, of the traditional meaning of health. We are going to bring a new meaning of health. We are preparing the people to be healthy and not waiting until they are not feeling well and then take pills or get implants or whatever, hip surgeries and so on. So in other words, what we are here doing is to go fast forward, and maybe in 20 years' time, we know what it means exactly. But that doesn't matter after all.
But what does matter actually is how you get there. And one of the things I'd like to bring up, in Jean-Claude's previous job before the WTTC, of course, he was a top executive at Air France, it's not enough to build a wellness infrastructure. You also have to have the airlift to support it. And in my conversations with so many different airline executives, they need to be educated as to this impact, this growing market. They don't quite get it yet, because they still put wellness in the category of vacation or resort, which I think some of us would argue with at this point. And when you talk, I just came back from Panama. Panama is a good example of a country that has really embraced this. They didn't just build a Cleveland Clinic or a Johns Hopkins, and that's not just for elective surgery, that's for people going in there for maintenance reasons, for health and wellness. They had a program that when you land in Panama, they hand you a card. And you think it's another immigration card. No, it's a card that says while you're here, your health is so important to us that you're insured for the next 30 days. If anything happens to you, you're taken care of. That's unbelievable. Something that other countries should model, because let's not forget the fear factor. It's not enough just to come to Morocco. As much as I love Morocco, and many of you who have not been here before are now realizing how much you love Morocco, there is that fear factor, oh, I'm going to this brave new world, will I be okay? Here's a country, Panama, which is only 2.5 hours from Miami, that has figured out, you know what, we're going to anticipate the fear factor and deal with a basic common core need. And that is, we're going to help you to feel good about yourself while you're feeling good about Panama. So I think we have a challenge here with some of the infrastructure within the travel industry to educate them as to this growing market because it's only going to be beneficial for them.
No, it's true. You are American, I understand.
Yes, I am.
Only 15% of the Americans have a passport.
Actually, no, it's actually gone up. It's
17.
Actually, nope. I'll tell you the number.
18.
He wanted to get back at me at figures before. I'll get back at him now. It's 37%.
Great.
But wait. That doesn't mean they use them.
Exactly.
And it's even worse.
Exactly.
How many members of the United States Congress have passports? Only 42%. Now, how can you make international policy if you've never left Kansas?
Okay. Well done, Peter. And one positive thing is that the number of Americans going overseas have been growing by 28% last year. So we're getting there. What I wanted to say is that, yes, we all, airlines, tour operators, whatever, have to make that world a kind of a community. And the Panama people were right. You come to us, okay, if you have a little problem, we are here to help you. And to create a family concept. And that is something I have been working on, you know that, WTTC, sometimes in Air France, but that was more difficult because I had to handle strikes with the pilots and things like that, you know. But that is exactly what we have to do. And that's why, again, coming back to what we are, I joined that board because I couldn't, you know, Susie was on my case, you know. So I didn't want to, actually, spas. And then I discovered the world of spas. And I'm so happy to be here.
You know, I'm going back to something that Magat said. It's not the destination, it's the experience. We're all about the experience. And to our esteemed guests from, we're your guests from Morocco, you don't want to promote your country as a destination. You want to present it as an experience. And that's so much of what spa and wellness is all about. And if you can preserve the culture at the same time, which is really what Magat was talking about, and let people have that different experience, you have to get outside your comfort level to elevate yourself. And too many travelers, and I'm speaking now as an American, too many travelers think that their idea of an adventure vacation is to go to an American branded hotel overseas and order a cheeseburger. And that's their idea of an adventure vacation. We have to get outside that comfort level to experience something. We actually have to get outside the brochure mentality to experience that. In fact, everybody here, I'll make you bet, when I'm talking to people who are either press representatives or owners of spas and resorts, they always want to tell me all about their special treatments. And, oh, we get our mud from Madagascar. Really? Okay. Wait a minute. My next question to them is, really, how did you get the mud here? Give me an idea of the process of how you got that mud all the way here and what makes that mud special. Just don't tell me it comes from Madagascar. And I think it's important for people to understand that it's not the product, it's the process. It's not the destination, it's the experience. And that's really part of the new definition of what spa and wellness is, because you've got to get people outside their comfort level to experience something they otherwise never would have. And then comes the fun part, word of mouth. And that's when they start telling their friends about it, and their friends and their friends. I have a rather large audience on CBS. It pales by comparison to word of mouth. The only thing I worry about, of course, is the internet, because nobody's vetting it. People believe anything they read on the net. Not a good idea. But bottom line is, we have to allow people to realize that if you can not promote, present the experience, and give them an opportunity to do one thing that you all in this room do better than everywhere else, experiential one-upsmanship. You are giving them an opportunity to do something they otherwise couldn't do anywhere else in the world or couldn't do anywhere else better. And I think that's something that should be celebrated and presented continually.
You know, you're so right. And the positive thing, and I think we should stop on that, is that there's a new character a new individual, a new tourist animal who doesn't want to go and eat hamburgers, who wants to bring back an experience. And that's why what you said before, Magat, is important to convey the culture, the feeling, so that when you come back, you have an experience. And the younger travelers, the younger generations are amazing on that. And you have a new segment of travelers, which are a group of young executives or young travelers who go together and come back and share and then amplify with their neighbors on the web, on the social networks. So we are on the beginning of something which we don't even know how big it will be. But that's exactly what we want. They want authenticity.
Plus social responsibility.
Exactly.
What you are doing with your company, Magat, what other companies are doing, there's a safari operator in Africa called Makato. Some of you may know them. They just came up with an idea that was so brilliant, and that is for every safari they sell, they're putting one child in Africa all the way through school. Now that is something that everybody who takes one of their tours can embrace and then can get involved. And I'm making you a bet that, and I won't even make the bet, I know it's happening, that the people who are going on those safaris are now asking to go visit the schools and to see the actual connecting of the dots. And anytime you can give people a great experience and then connect the dots in terms of giving back and following the money to where it really needs to be in those communities that preserves the culture and enhances it, is a great way to go. And those numbers will definitely be growing by the next time we see you next year. Please thank Jean-Claude Baumgarten. Thank you, sir.